Hi everyone, in this video we're going to be talking about the microbit. So we're going to be identifying the different parts of the microbit and then actually using code to create a program with it. So you might be asking, what is the microbit? Well, the microbit is a small computer, very small computer, very inexpensive, provided by the BBC, and it can obviously make programs on it. So just to give an idea, it is actually a small computer. You may look at it and think it's not a computer, it doesn't share any of the same features, but actually it does, but they look slightly different. So let's identify a few of these features for the moment. So you can obviously see we've got two buttons on the front. They are the A and B buttons. Now they allow us to do rudimentary inputs. So if you imagine on a computer we might use a keyboard or a mouse, but we are restricted with microbit to using either only the A or B buttons. Or we can use a shaking mechanic, which we'll deal with in a short while. You may also notice these pins, they almost look like, on the front. These are actually LEDs. Now LEDs, if you don't know, are lights. And those lights actually make up the screen. Now, obviously, screens on a computer are made with pixels, and there are loads and loads of pixels, upwards of thousands and thousands of pixels on screen at once. Here, you've only got 25 LEDs, and with 25 LEDs, you can make a lot of programs visually appear on the screen, so to speak. So what's this at the top then? Now, this at the top is a little port, and that is a USB port. Now the USB port's really important. Firstly, it provides power. There's no power button on the microbit at all. So the only way to turn the microbit on is to actually plug it in. It will immediately come on. So it also supplies data as well. So there are no programs on the microbit itself. You have to plug it into the computer and then pass the data to the microbit using the USB. So both of these roles are sort of taken up by the same port. As well as that, you can see we've got a button on the back. This is the reset button. As I said, there is no power button, but if you want to start a program again, you can use the reset button to do that. And at the bottom, now there are loads of other features on here, but I want to focus on this particular chip. You can see, if you look really carefully, you can actually follow this line down and it will show that that is the accelerometer. Now the accelerometer, I always ask, and people always say, what does it do? They always seem to think it makes it go faster. It doesn't. If it actually senses movement. So earlier I said, if you shake the microbit, it'll register that as an input. Well, that's exactly what the accelerometer does. If you've played games like Temple Run or anything where you move your phone left and right to move the character, that's an accelerometer that does that, and most phones have them in these days, as do a number of games controllers. So accelerometer is used here as well. Now these aren't the only features. You can also see we've got the processor. The processor is like the CPU in a computer, or it's exactly the same. It's just a lot smaller and a lot less powerful on a microbit. We've also got a compass, so it can tell if it's facing north, south, east or west, or I think all the 8 cardinal directions. We also have the ability to plug a battery pack in there so we can make it portable. Rather than having USB power, it will remember the last program that was put into it. So that's always very useful. And that's the main parts of it, really. You can also plug electrical devices into the base of it using these electrical pins. But those are the main things that we've covered, and that's the main uses for microbit. So let's actually get some code onto a microbit, and to do that we're going to use Makecode, which is provided as a language on the internet. So to do that, all we have to do, like Scratch or Blockly, is put some blocks together in the right order to form an algorithm or a program. So the first thing we're going to do is put our names onto the microbit, and all we have to do this is get this block, which we'll have a look at in a second, and put it on the onStart block. Then we can change it. So let's have a little look. So I'm on my iPad right now, but it's exactly the same as it will be for you on screen when you get this on the tasks. So you always start with your onStart and your forever block, generally when you start these programs. Now for me at the moment, I'm going to leave those here. I don't always need them, but I'm going to leave those here for now. What I do need to do though is show my name on screen. And if you looked back at that previous task, you'll notice that this is blue. This block itself is blue, which is very helpful. So we can see that the basic section is also blue, and clicking into that we've got lots of options. But the one we're interested for now is this show string option. String is what we call text inside of a computer, and we'll get to that a little later. But show string, well, I don't want to show hello, I want to show Mr. YS, because that's my name. Probably should put a space in there for grammatical accuracy. Now I can put this in on start, and that's fine. So if I put it on start, what I'll have to do is I'll have to press this play button, or just on the underside of the microbit, so I can press stop and press play on that, and you should see that it scrolls Mr. YS on screen, which works just fine, but it should only run once, and that's because it'll only run on start. So when the program starts, it runs my name and then it stops. Now if I was to move this into forever, I think it's pretty obvious to work out that that means that will constantly run. So it will always show Mr. YS. So as soon as Mr. YS has finished, it's going to start again. So it's constantly repeating that code until the program stops, or the equivalent of you taking out the power or pressing the reset button on your microbit. So the tasks you're going to be doing today or in this lesson all use the basic commands, which are in here. You can do things like show LEDs, so I can show certain LEDs by clicking on them. So rather than doing that, I can just show a face, for example, or anything like that. I can use inputs, and this is the other section you're going to be using. I can say, oh, if the A button is pressed, then I want to show this smiley face. So if I play that program now, you can see we've got our A and B buttons available. So if I press that A button, that's going to turn up on screen. So that does work. So you're going to be using your basic and your input for the tasks this time around. So have a go and let me know how you get on.